I want to start this video off by saying that I love Kingdom Come Deliverance, but in my over 500 hours of experience, I'm confident in saying that it also has its fair share of flaws. Look, no game is truly perfect. There will always be something to be desired from even your most beloved games. Metal Gear Solid 2 needed more Snake, Ocarina of Time needed less Water Temple, and even Half-Life could use one more game. I've talked positively of Kingdom Come far too much on this channel, and it's about time we shed some light on the more bullshit things about this game. These fucking things. Want to eat from a pot? Loading screen. Want to look at your map? Loading screen. Want to pass time? Loading screen after a loading screen. I think the one here that upsets me the most is eating from the pots. Like, damn. I understand there's a few calculations going on when you take this action, from what hunger you're gonna be at, or if any buffs occur. But honestly, this shouldn't have a full-ass loading screen when this action's taken. And before any of you chime in saying to not run my games off a hard drive, I already know. It's installed on my solid state, so hold your comments. Or don't, I desperately crave your attention. What needs to even be said about this? There's a reason instant herb picking is one of the most recommended mods for this game. Who in their right minds would make it so you had a 4-second animation of Henry picking up herbs every single time, only to then make an achievement to collect 10,000 herbs? That's just sadistic. And again, before you comment, I know. I'm very much aware that as you level up your herbalism, the more herbs you'll pick up each time, but if you want to be a master alchemist in Kingdom Come, it takes some patience, at least at first. Who here knew this would make the list? Yes, it's a well-known fact that on this channel, I hate the alchemy system. It's fundamentally broken and slow, and the game does a terrible job explaining exactly how it works. I just learned recently from another creator, Griff Games, that you don't actually ever need to boil anything while doing alchemy. Your potion will still turn out unless it's required to be distilled. Yes, it'll result in less potions crafted, but at no loss of any XP. You don't even get the ability to auto brew until level 10, and it'll feel like forever to get there, spending hours at a time just looking for one more hit of that sweet, sweet experience. But on the topic of auto brew and alchemy, you know how I said it was broken? Yeah. You could break it even further when you reach level 10. As you may know, you have to look at the recipe book each time you want to auto brew a potion, and if you time it just right, you're actually able to do this twice within one look at the book. Now, I know this isn't news or anything, but it's crazy how it just works. I actually really liked the system of brewing your own potions by following a recipe and adding things in a certain order, but the allure really only lasts up until you reach level 10, then you'll never look back and be auto brewing the rest of your playtime. I actually end up buying potions more than making them now, unless it's part of a challenge, since you can make a lot of money in this game incredibly easily, and alchemy and I are just long past the honeymoon phase. Come on, I feel like this was another obvious one. Though, contrary to many people's opinion of archery, I absolutely love the bow. It can definitely take some getting used to, and I think that's why so many people are put off by it. I think many RPGs go about archery very similarly, conditioning many people to a very specific and relatable experience from game to game. Contrary to most RPGs, each bow in Kingdom Come has its own unique stats and traits from draw time to arrow arc. This can be especially frustrating when putting tons of practice and getting good on something like Capon's bow, to then upgrade to say, a cumin bow, only to find out they handle completely differently and all that time spent practicing feels wasted even if it wasn't. In my opinion, any time spent on archery in this game is time well spent if you want to get good with it. There are still fundamentals to learn regardless of which bow you use, but hey, I'm a little biased, so forgive me. Why in the hell is there no blacksmithing in this game? Hell, why isn't there any more crafting options in this game other than potions? The real answer is that it was a crowdfunded game made by a studio that had never made a game before, but that's the boring answer. That still doesn't explain why they decided to prioritize alchemy over blacksmithing. It doesn't make sense. It didn't even need to be that complicated. In fact, the more complicated you make it, oftentimes the worse it gets. Feel free to refer back to Chapter 3 for more context. But Skyrim's crafting was more or less just clicking a few things for instant gratification, but it felt like it gave the game more to do and provided unique armors and weapons only made through crafting. Yet, all we got in this game is a grinding wheel. Pretty pathetic for a blacksmith's son. Let's just hope that in the event of a sequel, this aspect will be more of a priority so we can open up more ways to play and have more things to do. I think one of the best ways to kill a game like this quickly is to not have mod support. Modding is becoming the go-to when looking for alternate ways to play or just fixing or adding things that you feel should have been there in the first place. For people like me who enjoy making challenge videos, or people who just like to play in a style unintended by developers, it's always nice to have a pile of mods to fall back onto, especially after you have exhausted playing with all the options provided in the base game. Kingdom Come failed to do this. There was a time where anticipations and rumblings of the studio working on something to make modding in this game a reality and to open up so many options for tweaking their game. Unfortunately, it didn't end up materializing like many had expected, and this wasn't the team's fault. I think expectations were just too high. I believe that the thing that killed the mod community for this game was the convoluted and outdated files that were used. Now, look, I'm no expert, but most components in the backend of this game use a TBL file dedicated to a specific group of parameters, but they were also accompanied by an XML file to fall back on if the TBL file was unreadable. The problem with TBL files is that they're inaccessible without specific programs and are usually encrypted, so it's harder for people to steal assets. It's totally understandable. But like I said, they also had an identical XML file that was able to be manipulated and reworked into a program like Notepad, so you could change minor things like XP gain or trader wealth. The problem more so was not being able to bring in new assets to the game files and have them be read properly. I'm again no expert in any of this by any means, but the mod community is so stale because most of it needs to be operated and manipulated within the existing files. There's no such thing as transforming Hans Capon into like Thomas the Tank Engine or something like that. Not that it's needed, but freedoms like this would have helped sustain KCD's life and popularity, but too bad, so sad, we'll never have it. Combat scaling is something that I think hinders Kingdom Come, since near the end of the game you almost feel too powerful. The progression in this game is almost exponential, meaning it has a slow ramp to a somewhat drastically increased and expedited rate the further in time you go. You start out barely being able to swing a sword to being able to wield almost any weapon you want near the mid to late game. This can even be achieved closer to the start, depending on how much you really want to grind levels early on. Excluding the extremes and progressing just how the game wants you to, you end up being almost overpowered by the time you've completed Baptism of Fire and defeated Runt. In my opinion, the one thing that's almost too overpowered and can be learned right from the beginning is Master Strokes. My first few playthroughs, I never even knew what a Master Stroke was. But once I discovered them, it felt as though the game got way too easy. Maybe that was the intention of Warhorse, but honestly, I enjoyed the game much more before I knew they existed. Piggybacking off the combat, I figured I should address the elephant in the room. The fucking lock-on system in this game is absolutely horrid in my opinion. The biggest problem I have with it is that it's too damn sticky. For me, a toggle feature would have been much more appreciated, or at least give me the option. I absolutely hate getting gangbanged by 2 or 3 guys and struggling to switch from one target to another. It's always a pain in my ass, pun intended. Most games that have a targeting feature include the option to turn it off and on with just the click of a button, but not KCD. The only way to reliably untarget an enemy is to use the sprint button, but doing so leaves you quite vulnerable and uses some of your precious stamina. Lucky for me, I play on PC and have a couple of mods at my disposal to turn this off or rework it slightly, but they're just too janky and don't work as well as I'd like. The dreaded Savior Schnapps. This clever way to manage saves was actually something I really adored my first few times playing Kingdom Come. I thought it was pretty unique and tied in well with the set and setting of this game. However, after playing for many hours, it's taken its toll on me and I'm no longer a fan. I couldn't have been the only one feeling like this was a plague and killed some of the fun over time because one day a mod was created. Much like many things on this list, this fixed my personal issue. I think the Schnapps was created to prevent over-saving and scumming, but again, for longevity's sake, the gimmick wears out fairly quickly. The fact that it intoxicates Henry is also fairly annoying to me, but I imagine this was for the same reason I just stated, so I guess I'm just repeating myself at this point. So there it is, the 10 things I find most annoying about Kingdom Come. But for every one of these 10 annoying aspects come probably 10 positive things I could say about this game. Is it a perfect game? No, but I, among many others, enjoy the hell out of this game and continue to an astonishing 6 years after its release. I'm always drawn to it over other mainline RPGs, mostly for its simplicity, but also for its unpopularity. I originally started making content for this game because I truly love it and believe that through all the initial difficulty, this game is truly a diamond in the rough. I'm eagerly waiting to see what Warhorse will do next, and it sounds like they're working on something new, and I'm hoping it's a sequel, but I'll take what I can get at this point. Thank you all, as always, for watching, and I'll see y'all next time.